I was born in the Caribbean. I was born in Trinidad. I came to Canada when I was 11, maybe 12 years old. I gotta ask my mom. I can never remember. Um, um, so, in Trinidad, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of music in the household, but it was a lot of a very specific type of music. It was calypso and soca, a little bit of reggae, I suppose, but it was mostly like island music, calypso and soca, and so which is funny because those I respect them, but those aren't types of music that I'd ever played ever on a gig or ever been asked to play, and I don't listen to it by myself, but like. So I grew up in a household where there was a lot of music playing, just not music that really spoke to me per se. When we moved to Canada, I lived in Montreal for about 5 or 6 years, and then eventually Ottawa for a bit. And I just fell in love with a band. So I didn't have a pull at all to the instrument or any instruments until I fell in love with this British band called Level 42. And just something, they had a big song called Something About You. Um, um, and a few others after that were, not as colossal as that one. But for some reason, I just connected with that band. I don't know, it was like a British funk pop, band. And I just connected with it. And I just zeroed in on them. They were my first favorite band, effectively, right? And the lead singer was the bass player. So I was going to play bass because I wanted to jump around in my bedroom. And I think I built a bass out of metal siding and like a piece of board and some fishing wire. And when I thought no one was looking, I'd go in the living room at night. And I mean, my family knew what I was doing. And I would like crank the stereo and jump around like he used to play slap bass. I just like sing and play slap bass and, be in my own little world. So I did that for a long time, for maybe a couple of years. And just as luck would have it, luck. I was a terrible kid. And I used to get into a lot of fights and start fires and steal. And so just out of frustration, my mom didn't know what to do. So in the Caribbean, what we do is if you are a bad kid, you don't get a tutor, you get sent to a disciplinarian relative who will whip you into shape, either literally or figuratively. And in my case, it was my uncle who lived in Winnipeg, who never laid a finger on me.
But that's the punishment when someone gets sent to Winnipeg for those wingers.
Sorry, Winnipeg, I love you, but yeah. And so I was removed from my friend base and from all my stuff and everything. And I spoke with this guy who was very strict and laid the law down. You couldn't spend more than 5 minutes on the phone call, more than 10 minutes in the shower. You had to come home with straight A's. Like, it was a whole thing. But all that to say, I ended up making a couple friends that school year that were drummers. They were the guys who took me in. They happened to be drummers, these two guys. I had no interest in the instrument whatsoever. It was just something that they did. And because they were my friends and I wanted to stay tight with them, I started, I stole a pair of mismatched drumsticks from band class. And I would go home and just listen to my ghetto blaster and listen to the sounds and try to figure out what was going on, just so I could come back and be part of the conversations they were having about the first two Red Hot Chili Peppers album, or the Pogues, or the Sex Pistols, or all these bands I'd never heard of, and living in my little Caribbean household. And this was 15, 16, so you're still pretty impressionable. So I did that for the better part of a year, maybe a little longer, just practicing on my knee and doing that, and not ever playing on a kit really. And one of them had a kit, so we would go to the one guy's house who had a kit, and we would take turns playing poorly. And they were both trained. They were both taking music in school, and I wasn't. I just was teaching myself. And I think one day the three of us were sitting around and we were playing along. I want to say it was like a Bon Jovi song, of all things. and we're trying to figure out a fill um, going into a chorus, and they couldn't figure it out. And I just was like, "Oh, isn't it this?" And they both kind of looked at me like, and that was the first time kind of a light went on where I was like, maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm good at this. Maybe it's just something. Like the thing is, like Joel, I hated it. Like I did for the first year, I couldn't stand it. I just didn't. It was something I did because other people were doing. Until that moment where it was like a light went on, and I was like, maybe this is something that I can get better at and be known for, you know. And so from there, it just took off, and I developed a real passion for the instrument and finding guys that I loved who played. And then I went back to level 42 and was like, that drummer is incredible. How did I sleep on this guy? He's amazing. And started trying to, falling down those rabbit holes of just learning to play those the way he was playing. And a couple of the guys that I grew up with, a lot of my friends in Winnipeg were like, "Oh, you're black, you skateboard, so you'd be into Fishbone." And I was like, "Well, that's racist, but holy fuck, you're right. I am really
but accurate."
But holy shit, I guess I am. Oh my god! And so that was, Rich spoke to just being a chameleon or just doing different things. That was Fisher, the Durham Fishbone, was the guy who kind of made that, put that in front of my face of like, well, here's a guy who will go from playing ska to playing punk to playing metal to playing thrash to playing funk to playing big band. And when he does every idiom, it's exactly what Rich said. Like, you would think that's all that guy does for a living. And I always found that really fascinating, to just be able to change gears, oftentimes within a song, to change gears really drastically and make it seem like it was the easiest thing in the world. So at a very young age, it was something. And also, because at the time I was a black kid who was hearing black people play music that I didn't know we could play. I didn't know we could do metal. I didn't know we could do, hardcore and all this stuff, and punk and all this stuff. So it was really eye-opening, and it then informed my ear to other styles of music, like getting into Slayer and eventually getting into Slipknot and getting into Death Angel and all these bands that like I wouldn't have had a pull to, but now I'm kind of getting a crash course by listening to Fishbone and how Fish approaches playing drums to what it takes to make these styles of music. So it was, I crack on Winnipeg, but if I hadn't moved there, if I hadn't lived with my uncle there, I wouldn't be speaking to you today. Like, I can tell you that very, very easily. Like I had no pull. I wasn't one of those kids who played on pots and pans or pillows. I never had a pull to the instrument. It just, I just fell into it, and I'm so glad I did. It's, it's become, I like you. I love music. Music is a life's blood. I really feel that if I didn't have it, I don't know what I would do. So being passionate about it and being passionate about different styles of music, whether it's Shaka Khan or fucking, Fire in the Flames by, I forget what that band's called, but but whatever, like they both give me goosebumps. They both make me feel the same way for different reasons, and being able to recreate that is so important to me. So yeah, that's a very long-winded answer, but yeah, that's where I started from, and that's kind of what drives a lot of my motivation when I play.
So I have a quote here from someone that loves music as much as you do, and that you have bonded with this person over a mutual love of Fishbone. So this is from Darren Mr. D. Dumas of the Salads. He is like Mr. Fishbone. So he says, I believe Sekou and I first met in the early 2000s when I was putting together lineups for the Salad Gold events. And it seemed like he was playing drums for every other act on those bills. I also seem to recall him visiting HMV on Yonge Street, where I worked at that time, and we would talk music. We've always connected on our love for the legendary Fishbone, all in capitals. And I fondly recall geeking out in conversation with him about our love of 24/7 Spies during his short time playing with them. Sekou is not only one of the most talented drummers in Canada, but also an incredibly friendly and humorous, check out his Instagram account, and super lovely guy I am thankful to call a friend. I hope to cross paths with him again soon. So Mr. D from the Salads.
Yeah, that guy knows his stuff, man. That guy knows his stuff. He knows his Fishbone. He's been so fortunate. He's developed a relationship with that entire band over the years that and just from being tenacious, just from constantly being like, hey, I'm a fan. And also, I mean, the Salads. I don't know if you ever heard them, but oh my God.
So he's talking about that HMV on Yonge Street. As a teenager, I waited in line for hours at the Future Shop that's around there to get their autograph. So I have a picture with the Salads where I'm like spiked bleached hair as a teenager. Nice. So that's how far we go back.
Wow. Yeah, that was a hell of a band. And their drummer, Grant, oh my God, that guy just put me to shame. Just his double bass drum and his speed on the instrument was just something else. We got to, because I've gotten to know Fish over the years. He knows the guys in the band, and I've gotten to somehow just through friends and stuff, gotten to know Philip Fisher, who is, again, like, so there's two guys, there's two Phils. There's Phil Gould from Fishbone, who was the first drummer I kind of paid attention to, who just opened the world up. And then there was Fisher, who was the guy in Fishbone who kind of effectively taught me that, to play different styles is really where it's at. And subsequently who I ended up kind of modeling my let's say the heavier side of things is mostly modeled after Fisher. So it was a really big deal some years ago to meet him. I'd seen him at shows and gone up to him and told him what he meant to me and stuff, which I'm sure, he's been told it 1,000 times. He's a seminal drummer for a seminal band. So over the years, we've just gotten to know each other, and I forget what happened that I actually finally got his phone number, or he gave me his phone number. I might have reached on Facebook or Instagram or something, but I've hung out with them. I can text him right now, which still blows my mind that I have that relationship with him. That and if he comes to Toronto, he's like, "Hey, are you in town? Do you want to go get some sushi or something?" Like it blows my mind. And just I'll see that and I'll like screenshot it and think about laminating the text. Like he's that big a deal to me. So getting to take a couple lessons with them has been eye-opening. Just they say never meet your heroes, but he was somebody that I always thought was the A, and I'm letter Z in the alphabet. So meeting him is just, And then anecdotally, not a lot of people know this, but yeah, I did do the 27 Spies thing for a hot second for the better part of a year, and then had my gig stolen by Fish.
How dare he?
Which I sort of don't mind in a way, that was wild, but yeah, so it's comes full circle, I guess, huh?